Welcome to Google Suite. Today's class is focused on Google Slides. Our class today will be hosted by myself, Jamie, with the Plano Public Library, and we also have Meredith and Bryn on today's class to assist. Before we begin, I do need to let you know about some ground rules that we've set up for the program. You will be muted during class and we have your video blocked. You will only see the instructor's screen. At the top of your screen, you can find an exit full screen option if you need to get to other things on your computer, including Google Slides. You are welcome to ask questions during today's program. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. Click on that to open the chat window. Chat is set to be seen by library staff only, and please note that any inappropriate comments will cause your immediate removal from the class. If at any time you'd like me to repeat or go over something again or in more detail, feel free to put that in the chat as well. Now, in regards to those questions, we may answer you directly in the chat box. We might hold the question until a break or the end of the program, or we might go ahead and ask the question at the time if it is pressing. There is a link for a course handout available for you in our Google Drive that we will also put in the chat for you as well. A recording of today's class will also be sent out in a few days, so if you would like to watch class now and then practice after getting the recording, that is an option. And if you would like to follow along with your own Google account, you may, but please do keep in mind it will be difficult for us to give one-on-one assistance or troubleshoot during today's class. I will try to take it slow just in case you're practicing along with me. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Once again, my name is Jamie, and I'm a librarian with the Plano Public Library. Today, we'll be going over some information about Google Slides, which is a web-based application for creating presentations similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. You can create and edit presentations using your web browser or the mobile app, but today's class will only cover the web version. Common uses for Google Slides include things like pitch decks, project presentations, and training modules. Keep in mind, you must have a free Google account in order to utilize Slides, and you can either log into your account directly through Google Slides or access Slides through your Google Drive homepage. In addition to the presentations that you create within the Google platform, you can also edit and convert Microsoft PowerPoint presentations if you have any. Our overall objectives for class today are to learn how to create and import files in Google Slides. So we'll look at how to create those presentations from scratch and from the template gallery, as well as importing existing files from PowerPoint. We'll talk about editing and formatting slides and their elements. So that will include things like your slide layout or adding content like images. We'll explore some tips and tricks for working with your presentations, so that will get us into things like transitions, animations, and your different presenter tools. We'll briefly cover printing and downloading files, and also how to collaborate and share presentations with other users. I'll be accessing everything that we need today from my Google account. And keep in mind, just like the other Google products, your documents will save automatically in the cloud while you're working, so you don't have to worry about hitting save throughout the class. And any document that you create will be accessible from any device with internet access in the future. So let me go ahead and switch over to my Google Slides homepage so that we can see what that's going to look like. As I said earlier, Google Slides is a web application for presentations similar to Microsoft PowerPoint, and we'll be using our Google account to access that. You can set up a Google account for free by either using an existing email account that you already have or by creating a free Gmail account associated with your Google membership. And then you do have the choice for accessing Slides directly through its homepage, slides.google.com, which is what I have here. Or you can also go through Google Drive at drive.google.com to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and sign in to Google Slides. Maybe, if I use the right password. That will let me into my account, and this is the Google Slides homepage. And you can create presentations easily in Google Slides by either a blank presentation or a template from the template gallery. If I wanted to create a blank presentation, all I would need to do is go ahead and select blank in that top left corner. And a blank presentation will open for me with just that title slide to get me started. I'm going to head and go back for just a moment. If I wanted to create from an existing template, which would provide some basic formatting and structure, I can use anything within this template gallery that you see across the top of the screen. With things in the template gallery, you'll generally go ahead and replace the placeholder text and images with your own content, but it will give you some of the structure and visual appeal. In addition to the template gallery, you may find templates online that you can upload into your account as well. So if I wanted to work with a template, I can expand the template gallery by clicking on those two little arrows to open up everything. And you'll see that Google Slides groups everything by some different categories. So there's personal presentations, there's work presentations, and even education presentations. I would just scroll through until I found what I was looking for. Let's say I want to do a status report. I would go ahead and click on that template gallery, and that will open up. And you'll see here on the left-hand side, there's several slides already preloaded with some information and suggestions, and then I can just make the edits with my own information as well. If you have an existing Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, you can also import and convert that file, but that's something that will need to be done through Google Drive. So let me go ahead and switch over to Google Drive for just a minute. You'll see that layout is very similar. I have a new button over here in the top left corner. I can get to Google Slides from here as well using that little arrow over. I can do blank presentation or from a template and get to the same options that I had in Google Slides. If I was uploading a file, I would go under File Upload and find the file on my computer that I wanted to upload, click Open, and it will open up that file in my Google Drive for me. Now you'll see kind of a little bit of a difference here. The PowerPoint file that I just uploaded, this one here with the Plano library information, has a little P to represent that it's a PowerPoint file, whereas our Google Slides has the little square slide deck icon that's associated with Google Slides. And I can tell at a glance what type of file I have. When I right-click on my PowerPoint, I can choose Open with Google Slides, and that will open up that PowerPoint file within the Google Slides platform. Now, keep in mind, you may lose some formatting or changes in doing this because it's not a 100% conversion rate between Google Slides and PowerPoint. As long as I have it saved here, you can see that it's got that PPTX PowerPoint format that I can make those changes, or I could do a file save as Google Slides to convert that file into a full Google Slides file as well. Let me go ahead and pop back over to our Drive homepage. We'll get that pop-up out of the way. And just very briefly, we're going to talk about opening up our existing presentations. So perhaps you have something you've previously created or you need to continue working on it. From the Google Slides homepage, when I back out of the template guide, I can see all of my presentations arranged by title, and I can easily find them and open them up. Within Google Drive, same thing. I can see all types of different files within Drive, but I can organize things into folders or find individual files. There are several different methods for organizing your files, and you'll see those across that top right corner. You can choose between a list view or a grid view that has more of a preview. You can sort by date opened or title or date modified, or you can search for a file if you don't see what you're looking for. Within Google Drive, you have similar options as well. You can choose that list view or a grid view. You can sort things by name. You can sort ascending or descending. The biggest difference you'll see with Google Drive is that you have the option for folders followed by your files, which you don't see on the Google Slides homepage. Before we move on to actually working in that Google Slides interface, do we have any questions about creating, importing, or accessing your files?
It does not appear so at this time.
All right, so let's go ahead and go back over into the Google Slides platform. I'm just going to open up a blank presentation here, and we're going to talk a little bit about navigation. When I open up a blank presentation, I'm going to see that title slide, which is just the slide that gets us started. And these placeholder boxes show me where to add information, and I can click into any of them and add in what I need. So I could just call this presentation title and subtitle and easily make the changes that I need. Now, if for some reason I needed to go back to the Google Slides homepage, I can do that just by clicking on the little yellow icon in the top left corner. Right next to that, you see a box that says Untitled Presentation, and this is where I can name my presentation. Normally, Google will default to the title that you have put on your title slide, but I can go ahead and change that and say I want to call this class presentation with today's date so I know what file it is. I can easily make those changes there. Once I click out of that, you'll see some smaller icons as well. The little star icon will let me add that presentation to my starred files. I can use this folder icon to move it into a specific folder on my Google Drive. And I can also use this tiny little cloud to see my document sync status. As long as there's a little check mark in that cloud, it means that all of the changes have been saved. Right underneath that, where we see File, Edit, View, and all of that, those are our menu toolbars. And these are different menus we have for working with our presentation. To see the specific commands, I would just click on any one of those, and I can see the full list of options available to me. So in general, that file menu will include options like emailing or downloading your document and your page setup options. The edit menu will have common commands like copying, pasting, and undoing. The view menu will show you options related to how that document and screen appears while you're working. So you'll see things like your ruler, your guides, if you want to see your speaker notes and your film strip view. Your insert menu will give you all of the options for inserting components like images, audio, or video. Formatting will give you options for working with the text on your slide. The slide menu will give you options for these individual slides, including duplicating, adjusting the layout, or applying transitions. Arranging will help you organize information and elements on your slides. And then you have different tools like your spelling and grammar check. You also have your add-ons menu, but we will not be covering add-ons as part of today's class. Should you need it, that help menu also gives you access to Google's help information. And we'll get into some more details on some of the specific commands, but that just gives you an overall idea of where to find things within the Google Slides interface. Underneath your menu toolbar, you see a collection of little icons, and those are your shortcuts toolbar. And That shortcuts toolbar gives you buttons for commonly used features in Google Slides, and you can use these instead of navigating to the menu to make the changes. If you hold your mouse over any one of those little icons, you should see a description of the function for each. So like I hover over this little box with a T and it shows me that's my text box option. If I hover over background, it shows me I have the option to change my background. Over here on the left-hand side of my screen is the slide navigation pane. And you have two different views that you can use within this. The default view that has the tiny images of all of my slides. Right now I only have one, but as we add more slides in, you'll see they appear underneath. That is referred to as our film strip view. And that just shows me all of the individual slides in my presentation and lets me keep this bigger window for making edits and changes. If I click on the little 6-box grid, that switches over to grid view and I would see all of my slides arranged across here. And I could drag and drop and reorganize slides. I can't make edits to slides from this view. I would have to double click on the slide I wanted to edit to open up that editing view, which will take us back to our film strip view. The majority of the screen, this area right here in the middle, is referred to as our slide pane, and that's where we can view and edit our selected slides. You'll only see one slide at a time in here, and you can switch between them easily by clicking on the smaller slide images in your film strip view or using your arrow keys to navigate between slides. Underneath that, you have your speaker notes pane, which is where you can add notes to your current slide. And these are things that can be seen by the presenter, but don't display on the slide when you present. Think of it as kind of your digital index cards to go with your presentations. And then over in the top right corner, you'll have all your presentation options that we'll get to a little bit later, but they'll let you play your completed presentation for an audience and access the associated presentation tools. That's also where you'll find your sharing options if you need to collaborate with other users on your slideshow. Do we have any questions about navigating that Google Slides platform?
Not at this time.
All right, now that we have an idea of how we're navigating in the platform, let's talk about our themes and personalization. So when you create a new presentation, you can choose a theme to apply to all of your slides. And themes will include things like colors, fonts, and slide layouts that give a consistent look and feel to your presentation. And you can choose a theme at any point while creating your presentation. When you open up a blank one, that theme window pops up automatically for you. But let's say I had closed that and I didn't have it available. I could also get back to the themes by going through my shortcuts toolbar. See, I have the option there for theme. I click on it and that pops up that little window for me again. And I can just scroll through the available options and select the one that I like. So let's just say I like the coral, and that will apply it to all of my slides. If I don't find anything that I like, I can also use the import theme option to import a theme from an existing presentation or upload something from my computer. Now, if you like the overall theme but would like to make some slight changes, you can use the theme builder to customize your slides. So let's say I like this box, but maybe I don't like the color. I can easily make those changes by going under my View menu, selecting Theme Builder, and then choosing where I want to make my changes. So I can edit individual slides within this, or I can edit the theme as a whole. If I click on that top slide, that will get everything at once. Let's just say I want to make a change to this first title slide. Say I want to change my theme colors. Ooh, I can easily change my accent color and make different changes. I could make changes to specific fonts or sizes as well. So let's say I actually wanted this to be a completely different font. And I'm just going to select that permanent marker font. That makes the changes. Once I've made all of the changes that I want, I can use the little X to close out of the theme builder, and the changes have been applied to my presentation. And if I don't like those changes, I can go back into the theme builder and make those changes, or I can edit on the individual slide and decide, I'd rather go back to a different font for my presentation. Once I've created the first slide, I'm probably going to need some more slides. So we'll get into inserting some new slides into our presentation. And each slide that I insert will generally have some kind of placeholder information to show where my text or other elements will be placed. I can insert a new slide in several different ways. I could go to the slide menu and choose new slide. I could go over in my left corner and use that plus sign icon to add a new slide in. Or I can use the keyboard shortcut Control M to add in a new slide as well. Once I have a title slide in place, the default for that second slide is the title and body layout, which gives me a placeholder box at the top to put the title of my slide and a text box underneath to put in my slide content. But let's say I don't like that layout or it doesn't work for what I'm currently working on. I can change that if I need to through my slide layout menu. I can go up under slide, choose apply layout, and I can see all of the different options. So maybe I actually want 2 columns. I can apply that slide layout in there as well. I also have the shortcuts option. When I click on layout, I can make those changes as well. Now, one thing you'll notice if I were to insert a new slide here, the next slide that I insert will automatically duplicate the same layout as the slide before it. So I might have to keep making changes if I need several different types of slides. As I'm working, I might also need to organize or rearrange my slides, and I can do that very easily through this film strip view. I can drag and drop slides into a different order. I can right-click on a slide and duplicate it if I have something that works really well. I can also delete slides if I don't need them, and that I can either right-click and choose delete, or if I have that slide highlighted, I can hit backspace or delete on my keyboard as well. If you want to reorder slides, but you don't want to use this film strip view, you can also do that from the grid view that we talked about earlier. If I clicked on those 6 little boxes, I could see my overall presentation, drag and drop, and move things around, and then go back to editing by just clicking on one of the slides to open up that slide pane again. Do we have any questions about our themes, slides, or layouts?
None at this time.
Okay, so let's move on to adding some content into our slides. Within the individual slides, I have a lot of different options for adding content. So I can add text, I can add in my speaker notes, I could add in pictures and shapes, charts and diagrams, or even video and audio. Those placeholder boxes are really easy for me to add text in because I can just click into the box and add the text that I need. Just like a document, I have options for the font, the size. I can add a bulleted list. I can change the alignment. And I can just put that text in very, very easily. Now let's say I wanted to add in something a little bit different. So maybe I want to put something in underneath this text box. I want it to be a little bit smaller. I can do that. When I have it selected, you'll see that I've got this blue box with little squares around it that let me resize. When I hover over one of those squares, I can easily change the size of the box. You'll also notice when I have this selected, there is a little option on the side with two arrows pointing at the two lines, and that has to do with my overflow options. Right now, it's set to shrink text on overflow, which means if I kept typing, as I keep typing, it gets smaller and smaller to make space for everything that I'm typing. If I didn't want it to do that, I could choose do not autofit, and I'll see that my text keeps going outside of that placeholder. I can also choose to resize my shape to fit the text so that it automatically fits in there as well. If I wanted to add speaker notes into this slide, all I have to do is click on the bottom where it says click to add speaker notes, and I can type in anything that I need to. Again, I have some options for formatting the text. I can change the font, I can change the color, but this is not information that will display on your screen when you're presenting. It's just information for you as a presenter that you will have access to. Let's say I wanted to add a picture into my slide. I can easily do that through the shortcuts menu. I've got a little picture frame with mountains. I can choose that insert image, or I could go up to the insert menu and choose insert and then image. I'm going to have to choose a source. So it could be something I'm uploading from my computer. I could search the web. I could even link to my Google Photos and pull up things that way. I'm just going to do a web search really quick for City of Plano. And you'll see that it gives me several different options. When I found the image that I like, I can select it, choose insert, and now I have that image on my slide. I can move it around. I can resize it and do pretty much whatever I want with it. If I decide this text box isn't needed, I can also click and hit backspace on my computer to get rid of that as well. You'll see as I move things over to the side, there's some red lines that appear that help me line things up as guides so I know where things line up on my slides, just to give things a kind of symmetrical look. If I wanted to insert other things into my slide, it's going to work much the same way. We'll go ahead and add another slide in. I'm going to change my layout just to make a blank slide so we have a clear empty space here. If I wanted to do a shape, I could go up to insert shape, choose the shape that I need. I'd like to make a little smiley face, and I can draw it onto my slide. If I wanted to do it from the shortcuts menu, again, just click on that little shapes, choose the shape that I need, and drag and drop to create it on my slide. We'll go ahead and insert another blank slide. Charts and diagrams are going to be a little bit different because they have a bit more detail into them. If I did insert and chart, the first thing I'm going to need to do is choose the type of chart that I want it to include. So let's say I want to make a pie chart. It will create a chart for me. I can't edit this chart in Google Slides. I have to edit it in Google Sheets. So I would go up into the top right corner and choose open source, which will open the information for my chart so that I can easily make changes if I need to. So say I need to change this to 50, I can make the changes. I can close. And then you'll see that I have an update option. On my chart, I would click update, to make the necessary changes. Just like an image, I can drag and drop to resize or move this around on my slide. Go ahead and do another blank slide. Diagrams can be edited within the Google Slides platform. I'll go up under Insert, then choose Diagram. And this is where I'll choose which one works for me. So maybe I need to make a hierarchy, a timeline, or just a process chart. I would select the type of diagram that I want, and then I can choose how many levels that I want. Say I want 5 different levels, it'll show me what it looks like. I can also easily choose a color, apply it to each of those. When I've found the layout that I like, I can click on it, and that will insert it into my slide. And then I've got these little placeholder boxes that I can update with my specific information. You can also insert audio and video into your slides through that insert menu. So you can choose audio, video as needed. Those will give you some additional options. Now keep in mind, if you're including audio, it does need to be accessible through your Google account. So I can't link in just a sound file from the internet. I have to have saved that into my Google account. With video, I do have a few other options, because I can choose to insert a YouTube video, I can use a URL that I already have, or I can choose a file from my Google Drive and put it into that slideshow. So just to give you an idea, if I was searching YouTube for something from Plano Public Library, I can see the different videos. I can choose the one that I want. When I hit select, then my video will be available. And I will automatically get a little menu here that has options for when that video plays, if I want to shorten it to just be part of the video, and things like that to format it. Do we have any questions about adding content into slides?
It does not appear so.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about transitions and animations, which are going to impact how your slides and content on your slides appear. Our transitions refer to how the entire slide behaves. And I can get to that menu by going up under Slide and then Transition, or I can use Transition here in the Shortcuts menu. That opens up this little motion menu, and I can choose what I might want. So I'll just do dissolve here as the first option. I can change the speed with this slider. Let's say I want it to be really fast, and I can preview it by hitting play. So I can see what that looks like. Maybe I don't like that transition. I can choose by hitting stop. I can get back to that menu and say, you know what, I'd rather do something else. I'm gonna make it a little bit slower. Let me play and preview that. Okay, I like how that looks. I can hit stop, and that has applied to my slide. If I choose apply to all slides, it'll automatically do it for every slide in my presentation. Now you'll notice once I've done that, there's these little circles on the side of my film strip view, and that just shows me there is motion of some kind on this slide. Animations refer to how individual items on the slide behave. So this will be when my title comes in, when my text comes in, when my images come in. So again, it's going to be the same menu as I used for slide transitions. I'll click on transition. I've already got my slide transitions here, but underneath that, I have the option for object animations. And this is where I can add animations, but I have to select something on the slide to be able to animate it. So let's start with my title. I would choose add animation, and I can choose one of those. And I have the option, if I want to do it on click, after the previous, with the previous, the speed. Once again, if I hit play, I can preview what that looks like. Just hit stop to get back to the options. Now let's say I want to add in animation for my text. I would just do add animation again, choose what I wanted and how I wanted. You do see a box here for by paragraph. And what that does is it makes my text into little individual lines. So instead of being a block of text coming in at once, each point appears on its own. So my title comes in, and each time I click my mouse, additional content comes in. So that it can be really easy to help break up points if you don't want everything to show up on your slide at once. Images would work the same way. I can add in a different animation and apply it to my slide. Now let's say that I want my image to appear before my text. I can use these 6 little boxes on the side, drag and drop, and rearrange the order that information animates on my slide as well. Once I have all the changes that I want, I can just close that menu and everything has been applied to that slide. If I change my mind and decided I didn't want that animation, if I click back on that transition menu, when I click on the specific transition, I can use the trash can and remove all of the animations from the slide if I need to do that. Are there any questions about adding content or elements to your presentations before we move on to the presenting options?
Not at this time.
All right, so let's say we've put together a complete presentation and now we're ready to share it with others. Presenting is how I can share that content during meetings or other settings. I've got a couple of different options to get to that menu. I can go under this button that says slideshow in the top right corner and get to those options. I can also go under my view menu and do slideshow, or I can hit the keyboard shortcut Control F5. When I choose one of those options, my slideshow is going to open in full screen for others to view. And I can navigate through different slides by using my mouse or the arrow keys. I can hit escape to get back out of that presentation. Google Slides also offers additional presenter tools, including your speaker notes, a timer, and the audience Q&A feature. Now, to get to those, instead of just clicking where it says slideshow, you would use that drop-down arrow and you would choose presenter view. And what I'm going to do is switch my screen share so that you can see what that presenter view looks like. Here in the presenter view, I have some separate options, and this opens up in a different window. I've got a timer up here in the top left corner where I can check my timing. I can pause or reset that at any time. This is great if you know you only have a certain amount of time to give your presentation and you want to practice to make sure you're hitting that window. I can easily move between slides through this window if I'd like. And I can see previews. I can see the slide that was previous, and I can see what's coming up next. And then over here on the right, I have my speaker notes where I can see any notes that I have for my slide. And these are all tools that I can use that display for me, but that don't impact what it looks like to my audience because it's opened up in that separate window. If you were to click on Audience Tools, this gives you the Q&A feature. When I click Start New, I have a URL that people in the audience can go to submit questions to my presentation. Let me go ahead and switch my view back to my Google Slides. And you can see now there is a link listed at the top where people can ask a question. So let's say I have a question. I can choose to type it in. You also have the option to ask anonymously, and you can submit that question. Back over here on my presentation, nobody's seeing that. But as a presenter, when I go back into my presenter view, I can see that I have a question available. And I can choose if I want to present that to the audience or not. If I click present, what it does is it displays the question on the slide for everyone to see. So instead of my slide content, what you see is the question that was asked. Once I'm done sharing that content, I can go back into my presenter view, choose hide, and it'll go back to my slide content. If I don't want questions to be available anymore, I can use that slider, turn questions off, and now it's no longer an option for my audience. Are there any questions about presenting?
I'm not seeing any at this time.
All right, let me go ahead and close out of the presentation there, get back to our main Google Slides page. And we're going to do just a little bit of talking about organizing our files and printing, downloading, sharing. Once I've created one or more presentations, I might want to start organizing and collecting those files. And remember, Google Slides will automatically save my work periodically in the cloud. If I want to organize my files into folders or make copies of presentations, I need to do that from my Google Drive homepage. And that makes it really easy for me to create folders. I can go up here under New and create a new folder and drag and drop into those folders as needed. If I want to make a copy of the file, I can do it from within the presentation under the File menu. I can choose Make a Copy and either do the entire presentation or certain slides. Let's say I want a copy of my entire presentation. I can name it. I can choose where to save it. If I have sharing enabled, I can choose whether or not to share it with people or copy any comments. If I'm making a copy to share, I can also choose to remove all of the speaker notes if needed. Once I hit OK, that copy is created. Over in Google Drive, I can right-click on the file, choose Make a Copy, and very easily copy that file. If I have files that I no longer need, I can also right-click and remove to delete unneeded files as well. I can also click on that file and click delete on my keyboard, and that will do the same thing. That will move things into my trash. Keep in mind, anything in your trash will be deleted forever after 30 days. Up until that point, if I were to delete and realize that I didn't want to, I could either use this undo option here, or I could go over to my trash can and restore the file. Now, let's say that I want to print and download a copy of my presentation so that I have it for reference. Since Google Drive is saving as I'm working, I always have access to the most current copy of my presentation when I access that file online, but I might need a copy just for backup. Now, before you print your presentation, you'll want to make sure that your print settings are correct, and there are several different options for printing. So how you print will depend on your specific needs. You can go up to File and choose your print settings and preview. And this is where you're going to set up all those options. You can choose to do your slides with or without notes. So if I want my notes to appear, I can choose with notes, and you'll see I get the slide preview and my notes as well. I can choose to make a handout with multiple slides on it. I can hide the background. I can change the layout of my page and easily make those changes. Then I have the option to either download this as a PDF, or I can click print and send it directly to the printer. I can also close the preview and go back to print options at any time. I can get to print by doing File Print, or I can use the little printer icon on the Shortcuts toolbar to print as well. I may also want to download a copy of my presentation. To do that, I would go under File, Download, and then choose how I would like to download. Generally, you're either going to download as a Microsoft PowerPoint document or as a PDF. You can also choose to download image files of current slides if needed. If you needed to email your presentation to someone else, you would choose File, Email, and then choose Email this file. Once I've done that, I would just put in the information for who I need to send the file to, as well as how I would like to send it. So I can choose to send it as a PowerPoint file. I can choose to send it as a PDF file. And I can also choose whether or not to send myself a copy of that presentation. I can put a message in here if I need to. Once everything's filled out, I just need to hit send. Depending on the type of presentation you are working on, you may want to share it with other users. And this gives you different options for collaborating and gathering feedback. The easiest way for you to do that is just to click on that yellow share button in the top right corner and choose who you want to share with. Once you put in who you're sharing with, you can change your options. You can make people viewers. They can only view the file. You can make them commenters. They have the option to add comments to the file, or you can give them full editing access. And you can add a message in so that people know what you're sending them, and then hit send. Your other option would be to get a link that you can share with people. And you can do that either as a restricted link, so only people you've added to the file can open it, or you can do it as an open link that anyone with the link can open the document. You can also access additional options if needed from the gear shift icon there, which just lets you add a few more things, like whether or not people have the option to download, print, and copy your file. If you didn't want to use that share button, you can also get to all of this from the menu by choosing File and then choosing Share. Once you have shared a document with others, you can easily collaborate separately or in real time. Google does allow for simultaneous editing, which means you can have multiple people in your presentation making changes at once. You can also add comments into your presentation using the little comment icon to provide feedback. Once I've put in a comment and click comment, other people will be able to see it. They can mark it as resolved. They can delete it, or I can edit my comment if I need to make changes to what I've said to someone. You can access the comment history at any time via the comment icon up here in the top right corner, that I can easily see where comments are in my document. Do we have any questions about printing, downloading, collaborating, or sharing?
I am not seeing any in the chat.
All right, well, that does conclude the information that we had to share today on Google Slides. But before we go, I did want to share just a few more resources with you. If you have a short question that you'd like library staff to answer, you can submit it online at any time using our Ask a Librarian service, and a librarian will usually respond within 48 hours with the information that you need. If you would like more one-on-one help from one of our librarians, about 30 minutes of dedicated time, and the chance to go over your specific questions, you can complete a Book a Librarian request as well. Each session is tailored to your specific needs and is compatible with your schedule. On our blog, Plano Library Learns, you can find book lists, program recordings, and other useful information. You can also explore more business and career resources and technology tools from the associated tabs. You can also view past programs on our YouTube channel at any time. As you can see here on the screen, we do have several other classes in our Google series if you'd like to learn more about the other programs in the Google Suite. Remember, you will receive a link to the recording from today's class in a few days, and you can access our course handouts via the Google Drive at any time as well. Please take a moment to complete our survey as you exit the program today, which it should pop up automatically. We do value your feedback, and that helps us determine what additional programs are helpful for us to offer. Thanks again for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.